Can you just remind me again why I'm being arrested?
Right, so you're under arrest for section 127 of the Communications Act 2003. You do not say anything that may harm defence. You do not mention when questions like which later are in court. And you do say may be given evidence. The necessities for your arrest are for a prompt and effective investigation.
Can I just add as well? You know, when they post when that image was there, below it was about 20 or 30 similar swastikas made up of the Union Jack. They line them all up the same way, yeah, but none of them are being investigated.
Guys, one day, if you haven't already.
They took me to Basingstoke Police Station, put me in a custody cell. One copper watched over me, then another one came in. They said I'd be processed by the desk sergeant.
Whenever they decide to dispatch armed police officers, because police officers are armed, tasers, pepper spray, batons, etc., to check the thinking of regular law-abiding citizens, because the chances are we will be there.
Is free speech under threat in the UK? With the rise of so-called non-crime hate incidents, arrests over grossly offensive memes.
They came to me because I tweeted about gender-critical content. I'd famously retweeted what they described as a limerick. It wasn't a limerick, it was a piece of feminist doggerel. Nevertheless, somebody, don't know who they were, they decided that this had caused them great offence, and they contacted Humberside Police, and Humberside Police then contacted me. Essentially what they said was that even though I committed no crime, if I continued not committing crime, that could in some weird way escalate to crime.
Une sorte de tempête qui s'est abattue sur
A kind of storm hit my family and my professional circles. All this because of one man, Manuel Valls, the Interior Minister. For how long, I can't say, but I hope for the shortest possible time. He attacked me and the freedom of speech and expression in this country in general. Therefore, it feels very strange to face the entire government.
français contre soi. Et donc il a utilisé tous les moyens.
He used all means within the administration to prevent me from carrying out my professional activities.
Me bloquer dans mon exercice professionnel.
By releasing a circular which prevented me from doing the comedy tours everywhere.
Au préfet d'interdire mon spectacle partout en tournée. Nous, on a fait un recours auprès du tribunal administratif.
Then we went to the administrative tribunals which supported our position, but the government filed an appeal and the Council of State finally decided to ban my shows. I changed my show. We started a new comedy tour. In the meantime, 3 fiscal checks took place. All public services were pushed against me to throw me out of the ring. I think it was Prime Minister Ayro who said, "We will treat him like Al Capone." That is, we will lock him up.
On va faire comme avec Al Capone, c'est-à-dire on va me jeter en prison.
The threats to free speech from the left, it really is getting out of control. And especially now threats from gender activists trying to force us to say what's false, or at least what most of us believe strongly is false. Tonje Jejon, she's a lesbian filmmaker and actress in Norway. She's now being investigated for hate speech, faces potentially 3 years in jail for posting on Facebook that a man cannot become a lesbian. She was arguing with a prominent activist who was born male and now says she's a woman, and what's more, a lesbian mother. But Jejon wrote, well, look, it's just as impossible for men to become a lesbian as it is for men to become pregnant. Men are men regardless of their sexual fetishes.
German ministers have approved a draft law aimed at tackling the growing problem of cyber hate. The legislation still has to be debated in Parliament, but it proposes fines of up to 50 million euros against social media sites that repeatedly fail to remove harmful content.
When we talk about free speech, we tend to compare first world democracies to third world dictatorships. But the point of this video is to compare and also demonstrate that free first world democracies who take pride in freedom and free speech and liberty, countries with high standards of living, great history, great achievement, are somewhat inferior to the United States when it comes to certain aspects. Now let's look at this. The United States Constitution is the second oldest constitution in the world, only second to the Constitution of San Marino. And it's also a constitution that influenced many other constitutions all over the world. Actually, the Constitution of San Marino is not codified, which means it's not law, which makes the United States Constitution the longest and oldest constitution in use today. Now, in the US Constitution, it is very clear. It states that the US Constitution guarantees freedom of speech for its citizens without government retaliation and interference. That was the point of the First Amendment. Which brings us to the famous 1990 case of Texas versus Johnson. Gregory Lee Johnson, he was a young communist who burned the US flag during the 1984 Republican National Convention in Dallas, Texas. He was there to protest the administration of former President Ronald Reagan. The Supreme Court reversed a Texas court's ruling that Johnson broke any law by desecrating the flag. The Supreme Court invalidated statutes in Texas and 47 other states prohibiting flag burning. Let's look at Germany, for example. The German police have been lately raiding people's homes, confiscating electronics, bringing people for questioning. Judges over there issue fines and in some cases sending people to jail. Also diminishing the significance of the Holocaust. Remarks considered to be inciting hatred are actually punishable by jail time in Germany. The same thing in France. In France, there is something called the Gay-So Act, voted for on 1990. The Gay-So Act makes it illegal to question crimes that fall under the category of crimes against humanity. Like, for example, the Holocaust, the Rwandan genocide, the Armenian genocide, stuff like that. The UK is no different. In the UK, they banned a number of people, mostly Americans and other nationalities, from entering their country for hateful speech. Fred Phelps from the famous, notorious Westboro Baptist Church, who actually passed in 2014, and his daughter Shirley, they were banned from entering the UK. We actually know how crazy they are, but they were banned from entering the UK for hateful speech against gays. They were like celebrating 9/11. They were like celebrating dead soldiers. They insulted gays, dead US soldiers. They actually celebrated, they said some horrific things like, thank God for 9/11, thank God for dead soldiers. Conservative radio talk show host Michael Savage, he was banned from entering the UK for his stance on immigration, Islam, and autism. Richard Spencer for having white supremacist views. Robert Spencer for having anti-Islam views. Mark Webber for Holocaust denial. And Louis Farrakhan for anti-Semitic statements. And there are others, but those are some of the most prominent ones. In Norway, gender identity and gender expression were added to the hate speech section of the Norwegian Penal Code back in 2020. So when a lesbian female activist named Tonya Vavon, sorry honey, I slaughtered your name, made a Facebook post saying that a man can never be a lesbian mother, she was charged and she's facing a 3-year jail sentence. Now, I am not condoning what these people and others have said in the past. Racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, Holocaust denial, insulting veterans, burning the flag, they do not belong in civilized society. And we should treat our neighbors the way we would like to be treated, regardless of their race, religion, sexual preference, etc. But the point of this video is that the United States is superior in some aspects, especially when it comes to free speech. Things you say here can land you in jail in other countries. I'm talking about first world nations. I'm not talking about third world dictatorships. That's obvious. And this is why I think that the founding fathers were geniuses, because they anticipated that someday in the near future, some people might try to punish you for saying things they don't like. In my opinion, freedom of speech, when you say you have freedom of speech, you also have freedom to offend. Again, I'm going to make myself clear. I am not for the disrespect, the insult, and all of that. But if you have freedom of speech, and this is actually the point of having the First Amendment, is because people are going to say things you don't like, and some people would like to punish you for it. And I'm going to end this by saying, this is not an attack on any other country, and I'm talking specifically about Western countries, Germany, France, the UK, Norway. Those are countries with amazing history. They have great achievements throughout history. They provided a high standard of living than most countries in the world. Now I am 100% sure that if I visited any of these countries in the future, I will have a great time. And I will do so by doing what normal people do, and that is being polite, decent, and respectful of their laws and traditions. This was The Truth Reaper. If you guys like what I'm doing on this channel, you can help support this channel by subscribing, hitting the like button, hitting the comments. It is greatly appreciated, and I'll see you on another video.